welcome to Real Food. Today I'm going to share one of my recipes which I discovered by accident. I was just experimenting with, I bought a large amount of cheaper caviar. This is salmon keta caviar. And I was thinking, what could I actually do with it? And I also had some leftover potatoes, and I decided to try a potato caviar mash. And surprisingly, it turned out really tasty, and it also looks really good. So as you can guess, there will be caviar, there will be potatoes, and potatoes, I'm not going to take you through the steps of actually boiling your potatoes. So I've already got my potatoes peeled, cut into cubes. Oh, here we are, steam. So the reason why I cut my potatoes into smaller cubes, so I'll share some tips, because if you cut them into smaller pieces like this one, it will take much less time to actually cook it to a point where they're soft and you can actually turn them into a mash. And also it's much easier to mash them. And what I do, I literally just take this fork and I do it with my fork, so I don't need any special equipment. And another interesting tip I wanted to share with you is that you probably know that potatoes are considered this is starchy food. So if you are trying to avoid maybe sugars and starches, there is actually a very interesting trick you could actually do with your potatoes to reduce, to turn them basically into a more resistant starch. So for those who are curious what resistant starch is, starches generally, why they're quite often disliked is that starches are very easily convertible into glucose and into sugar. So when you eat starches, they can convert into sugar very quickly and give you that sugar rush. But there is a trick. You can turn certain starches into more resistant starches. For example, white rice, potatoes. And the trick is, I learned it recently. What you do, you cook it, you prepare it, in our case it's mash, and then you actually allow it to cool. So it doesn't need to turn cold completely, but you do need to let it cool naturally. So once it's cooled down, and this is both rice and potatoes, for some reason those starches, they become more resistant. So when you try to digest them later on, they release energy slower. That's a very interesting trick. I mean, I don't know exactly the mechanics of it and why it does it, and you probably do need to double check, but this is what I learned from my research. And do experiment and see how it works for you. I did try it a few times, and I have to say, although, if you like hot food, it might seem like, oh, I don't want to eat cold food. But if you do eat, not necessarily maybe cold food, but allow it to cool down and to a temperature where it's not piping hot, and eat it once it's been through this process of cooling down, you'll be surprised. Another trick and hint I wanted to share with you is the actual caviar itself. I know we're living in a time when we're trying to get correct nutrients and ratios, and the omega-3, omega-6 ratio has been a problem for many of us. Well, this is because we eat a lot of processed food and processed oils, which contain too much of that rancid or omega-6 fatty acid, and not enough omega-3. Well, the good news is that caviar is very rich in those omega-3s, and also caviar generally is rich in those, that orange, yellow, orange, deep orange color. It's all these, I can't remember the exact term, but these are the additional elements that your eyes can use. So it can improve eyesight, it can improve dry eye conditions. So altogether it's a very interesting combination, and I have tried this before, so it will look fantastic and taste delicious. So one tip is, because caviar is very salty, you don't need to add much salt into your potatoes. So when you do your mash, leave your salt alone, because caviar is very salty. It will have enough salt. Or it's up to you, if you want more salt, add it to taste. So, and while we're waiting for my potatoes to boil, I was going to show you, these are my plums, which I've actually grown myself, and this is harvest. So these plums, you know, I'll show you, I'll dig out video footage of my tree. The tree is absolutely amazing. This tree, I planted it several years ago, and it produced gorgeous flowers, but for a number of years I just could not see any plums flowering, but no plums. And I do get wild bumblebees. They all come over and they do their work in my garden, and there are other honeybees, and so there are pollinators. But this year, you know, and I was really worried about this tree. This year it did produce fruit, and oh my goodness, they are amazing. You know what? I've never tasted plums so flavorsome. You know, there's so much flavor in them, and they're both sweet and sour, and there's this amazing flavor in them. You know, honestly, I've never tasted plums better, and they're obviously from the tree, directly tree to mouth. So, and also I've got my harvest of apples. My apple trees are bringing me a reliably delicious harvest of apples, and they're always delicious. And again, I've never tasted apples more flavorsome, more juicy, more refreshing than the ones I pick from the tree and eat them directly. So for any of you, if you're living in a city, I'm growing all this in a city in London, in my balcony. So if I can do it, so can you. If you have a balcony or a small patch of land, do try it. You will not regret it. You might not always succeed, but if you try hard enough and long enough, you definitely will get results. Right, okay, so in the next section of our video, I will show you what I'm doing with my mashed potatoes and caviar. It's all very, very simple. You literally add caviar, you mash it all together, and then you eat it all together. But I will show you how it's done. So my potatoes are boiled, so you can tell how soft they are, you know, because they fall apart when you use your fork. So the only other additional ingredient I'm going to use is butter. So I'm going to add a chunk of butter and my caviar, and then I'll start mashing with using my fork. So it's very easy, like this. So here we are, some butter. And just to show you how easy it is to look, you use your fork and it's all done like this. I'll let my butter to melt, and then with my fork, and when you cut them into smaller pieces like this, each piece becomes really, really soft. So it's very easy to mash. In fact, my butter is harder than potatoes because it's from the fridge. So basically we mash, 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 and when your mash is practically ready, you can wait a little bit for it to cool, and then you add your caviar, because I don't know about you, but I don't want all those individual pearls of caviar to be destroyed by mashing, because the idea is that you will have your mashed potato with butter, which is very silky smooth, and then as you eat those potatoes you have these gorgeous orange pearls inside. As you crack them open, you get this additional flavor of saltiness, this kind of seafoods flavor, that melts in your mouth. So altogether it becomes a very interesting experience. So here we are. So you turn your, and you see how easy it is. You just use your fork. You don't need any special equipment. And I actually don't add any milk or anything else. I mean, some people add cream and other ingredients, or eggs even. For this recipe, I think there's no need to add anything else. You can just add butter, or if you don't even want butter, you can just mash your potatoes with caviar, and there will be enough salt there and additional ingredients for it to taste gorgeous. So my mash is looking good now. Have a look. It's very silky. Let me try this. It already tastes delicious. It's already delish. And you know what I did with my potatoes? I actually did cool them down with cold water. So this mash is already simply warm. It's not hot. It's not piping hot. or anything difficult. So I've already done my phase of cooling, letting my starches cool down to make them more resistant. This is looking really good. I'm so enjoying even doing the mash. It just looks so beautiful. So, and now the final stage. In goes caviar. So caviar goes in, every tiny pearl, and look at this. So you don't need to mash it very heavily any further. You literally serve it like this. Or you could serve it separately, like this, in a small dish on the side, and then everyone, if you're serving your guests, everyone can add as much as they want, or in fact help themselves with a fork or spoon on the side and taste their caviar this way. But this is looking just gorgeous. Look at this, how beautiful it looks, and it tastes absolutely delicious. It's just as I described it. Mashed potatoes are silky smooth, and you can crack with your teeth those individual caviar pearls to experience that beautiful salty seafood style flavor. So this is it. This is my caviar mash recipe for you. I hope you enjoyed it. Let me wish you bon appetit, and if you have any of your own interesting recipes, please do share them. I hope you have a great day, and we'll chat again soon.